All right, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Two Bros, One Beard. I am John,
Now, Michael.
and so today we're going to be reviewing the latest from Katatonia, the Swedish metal band. This new record is called Sky Void of Stars. Just came out, what was it, last week, right, bro? Last
Yep.
Friday.
Last Friday.
And a little bit about our experience with this band. So I saw them live open up for Opeth. I can't remember the year. I just remember this was Opeth's Heritage Tour, like the first shows they did without growling. So,
Okay.
but yeah. So this band comes on, and I find out they're called Katatonia, and it's one of those bands. If you don't have some familiarity with the songs, I swear it was like 60 minutes of the same song, just over and over and over again. And these guys, just regardless of lineup, I swear they're just like statues. So I got through it. Really had no interest in them, but I somehow stumbled upon Dead End Kings, which was their, I want to say, 2012 release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll go with that. But
it's around there.
Yeah, it's around there. But man, was completely blown away with that.
Is that still your favorite to date? Because I would say that's still
yes,
my favorite
by far.
Okay.
By far. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's that, and then I love the way they kind of went back and re-released it as kind of stripped away, the heavy and like the metal instrumentation. And remember what that was called?
I'm trying to look it up. I can't remember.
But anyway, there's that record, and then I went back and realized that a lot of the songs I had heard them play that night were from Night is the New Day. And when I listened to those on the record, I immediately remembered hearing some of that stuff. So those two records especially, made a huge impression on me. I have to say at that time, though, I did try to go back, and The Great Cold Distance, I really enjoy. Going back any further than that, a little rough for me. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
I think
same here.
Yeah, Jonas' vocals, especially like Last Fair Deal, Gone Down, Viva Emptiness. I'm sorry, it's just, I don't know, something changed. Something changed where I think he just became a better singer. I don't think there's any way to go
for sure
that.
Yep.
I definitely didn't get into the early stuff. The first couple where it's still kind of that old Death Doom sound. Never really went back to that. So there's a big gap I would say a huge gap in my kind of appreciation for Katatonia. It's primarily those three records: Great Cold Distance, Night is the New Day, Dead End Kings. So that's, and then the I don't know, the remix, if you will, they did for Dead End Kings. But that's really my sweet spot when it comes to
Katatonia. I got the title for it. It's called Dethroned and Uncrowned.
That's right, Dethroned and Uncrowned. That's awesome.
Acoustic versions, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so after that, there's a bit of a gap, and then The Fall of Hearts came out, and I'll let you talk about that. I know that you're a huge fan of that, but for me personally,
I love that record.
Yeah, for me personally, it just never grabbed me, and that's kind of where I've been at. The Fall of Hearts, didn't love it. I enjoyed it more than City Burials, and then there's this new one which we're here to talk about. So, yeah. Give me your thoughts on The Fall of Hearts, because you really seem to love that record.
Yeah, I thought. I love Dead End Kings. That was the first record I heard from them, and I think it's still probably my favorite, but it's close with Fall of Hearts. I don't really like anything before Dead End Kings, to be honest with you. The one right before is The Great Cold Distance. Is that what it's called?
The one before Dead End Kings is Night is the New Day.
Oh, I think I like that record, but I really. I like Dead End Kings so much more, so I kind of just consider myself a fan from that point on. Okay. And then I got into them because I was really into Evergrey, and I was like kind of in between Evergrey albums, and I think you recommended them, and obviously I was drawn to their sound because it's like a even more somber, bleak.
Yeah, it's a more bleak
Evergrey. And his voice actually it's a lot like Tom England's. They just kind of have that similar Swedish sound. I think they're from the same city, or I don't know if there's just like the accent. I mean, they don't have a thick accent, but they sound similar sound to their voice. But anyway, and I just loved Fall Hearts because I thought it was more a commercial sounding Katatonia album. You know, songs that it felt like that could have been great for like a Tim Burton soundtrack or something, for one of his movies. Like it's just awesome. And then the mix by Jens Bogren, I think it was their best sounding record. But it was just one of those records that had some, and they're not the hookiest band, and these songs actually had some real hooks, and it was almost like a little poppier. And I just love that record. It's just such an easy listen for me. And I really like City Burials too, because I thought it was a combination of Fall Hearts and Dead End Kings. I love the first two singles, especially, or the three singles. I think the Lacquer, and I forgot the name of the other two singles. I'm looking it up here.
We were talking about how the song titles are a little difficult to
they're so hard to remember,
especially if it's not, you know, like in conventional, like more pop music. It's just this, you hear that title over and over again. Not so much with these guys.
And then they'll use words that I'm not even familiar with. I have to like look them up in the dictionary. But yeah, it was a Lacquer, Behind the Blood, and the one that was like super poppy actually was it Flicker? I don't remember. Anyway, it was super catchy, and so I was a big fan of that record. And now we're moving on to the new one. That's what we'll talk about today. But I guess I'm more of a fan of their latest albums. John, you're a little more of their not super early stuff, but kind of the albums in the middle. So
yeah, middle period for sure. Yeah, and you mentioned Jens, and that's a huge deal to me. I mean, JB for sure did for sure did those three records that I'm my favorites, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, did he mix Dead End Kings too?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also the other thing I love about it too is these guys, not that they work together, but it always seems it's almost like a package deal sometimes. Is if Jens Bogren has done the mixing or mastering, or if it's Fascination Street Studios doing anything with the record, check to see who did the artwork, because it might be Travis Smith.
Okay.
And that artwork and the whole packaging for Dead End Kings is just insane. It's
awesome. It's so, I mean, it just goes perfect with the songs. It's like that's the imagery you picture when you listen to the music. Like there's got to be a raven somewhere in like a dark woods.
Yeah, it's there's songs on there like buildings, and you're just kind of looking at that dark cityscape. It's just it's haunting, but it's beautiful. It's really,
there's no color. You don't picture any color. It's just black and white for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, gray.
No color.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. So, Sky Void of Stars. I said to you the other day, got the first listen, and I was like, man, I'll be honest, this is kind of a chore. Went back, and
it definitely gets better with each listen.
It does, and I think so. You were telling me about the vocal mix didn't necessarily pop. This is another one for me. I noticed. I don't know what it is. This one I noticed I put on, and I wonder if part of the mastering process sometimes, or just the way. I don't even think it's necessarily the band. I think if we got the physical copy, we would notice a difference. I think the way Apple Music though sometimes is that there seems to be almost like a mastering process for that format.
Yeah.
Then you listen to it
mastered for.
Well,
iTunes,
yeah, it doesn't say that, but there seems to be something with the way it is streamed over that platform, because if I listen to it with I listen to it like Bluetooth earbuds.
Sounds way better, huh?
What's my listen? Way better.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix. It's a combination of the format, the web application, if you will, and then the way it sounds best. So I don't know, for anyone listening, that just take that and do with it what you will. But I think there's something to be said for that, especially with newer stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as the songs, I mean, it like it kicks you in the face like from the beginning. Like I love how it's just like boom,
yeah.
and it goes right into it. And it's a heavy riff, and same thing even with the second track. You were the one who pointed out the riff on that is
it's
got
an
awesome
awesome
groove on it.
infectious riff. You're just like, oh man, you just want to keep playing that intro.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's good. So now that I had a chance to listen to it all the way through again with headphones, like I was telling you, I think Jonas's vocals are amazing all the way through. I just think to me and everything about it, if you isolate it to me is great. I think the performances across the board are awesome. The drums are insanely good.
They are, man. Like I've never heard like cymbals sound so good and so clear.
Yeah, there's a lot of like kind of off time and just interesting parts, and it does kind of jolt you in between time signatures, which is really neat. I like that. This drummer they've had since 2015.
Okay, he's awesome.
He's great. This is not the guy that you had on Dead End Kings. This is their next time. His name is Daniel, but I think it's all the parts. So to me, it comes down to whole is not greater than the sum of its parts in this case. The individual pieces are great. I just don't think these are, as of right now, the most memorable songs. Nothing's really grabbing me or is super memorable. And then the other thing too is there's one thing to be, and this is just Jonas's style, I guess, but it's one thing to be poetic, but there's also times where the lyrics seem to be so specific about a personal thing to him that it's like I don't understand the reference. Like he makes a reference to the year 1988, I think, on the first track, and I'm like, I mean that has to just be about you. I mean, there's no other way around it. And there's other artists like Tom England, for instance, who can do it. It's clearly all of his stuff has been deeply personal, but can do it in such a way that regardless of your specific life circumstance, you're like, okay, yeah, I can definitely relate to this in some way. I think that's where
there's a clear message to the songs too, whereas Katatonia is it almost like you're listening to like a poetry reading. It's very, and it's his style too, the free verse lyrical style, which I don't know if there's not too many other bands that utilize the style where like almost nothing rhymes. So it's hard to structure a catchy song around that, and the chorus is just not going to be as memorable, but that's kind of their style. I think Redemption also writes in that way, where it's like the whole song is telling a story. There's not like this reoccurring chorus that
bugs me with him too, by the way.
Yeah,
that's a topic for another day. There's things. Trying to think of a good example. I mean, for something like, well, you know what? Let me look that up for a second. But tell me what kind of sticks out to you. Like, what did you enjoy?
Well, I feel like this record was heavier than probably just about anything. Except, I mean, I'm sure their early stuff with like the death metal vocals sounded heavier, but like this record, I mean, starts out really heavy, like you said. Whereas the last album kind of started out slow and slowly built. And then I thought just the guitar playing in general stood out more than any other album. Usually I'm listening to these albums paying mostly just attention to his voice and the vocals. That's what drew me in. And I didn't really care what the music was. It was really all about his voice. But this album had some killer riffs, amazing guitar solos, like blistering, just catchy solos, like almost like John Petrucci style solos, and then the grooviest riffs I've ever heard from them on track 2, Colossal Shade.
Yep,
I mean that is a killer riff on I forgot, is it Atrium? There's one song where there's like a great riff that kind of leads into the solo. I think it's on the song Author, actually, but just a lot of something I haven't heard from them before, or I don't recall such memorable riffs. Like the drumming's great. I love their keyboard sound. Does Jonas? They have an actual keyboard player, right?
Anders is credited as doing the keyboards.
Oh, okay.
Who's the well, you know, a founding member, original member with Jonas, and he's the only original member still.
Okay. Well, there's just like some awesome, like just atmospheric stuff where there's just stuff in the background that sounds similar to Evergrey, and
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's enough standout moments. I love the song "Impermanence" with the that guest vocal spot by Joel Eckel, who I wasn't familiar with.
Oh,
and
right.
I thought,
from Someone.
Yeah, from Someone, who I'm a band I'm probably going to get into after hearing his voice. But I love that they didn't even put, usually in parentheses it shows who the singer is.
Oh,
I think that was
like
intentional. Yeah, because you almost can't even tell. Their voices are similar enough to where it's like a seamless transition.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew someone was different. I was like, oh, his voice sounds a little different here, but obviously it's a different singer. But I thought he was a perfect guest. I love No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall, and that is a great song title.
That is a good song title.
And
really good.
Yeah, that's a great title.
Yeah.
But that's
kind almost like a My Dying Bride kind of song title. It's just it's so perfect. Bleak and it's perfect.
Yeah. But I thought that was the closest thing to like a Katatonia epic. I think probably the longest song in the album. It's like 6.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're a band that, I like them partly because they're so unique. Obviously they sound a little bit like Evergrey, but they're really their own thing. I mean, they write lyrics different than everyone else. They're at a different tempo than almost any other progressive metal band.
Yeah.
And they're just so unique. And I still think it's a really strong record. I like the previous 3 more, but I mean, if you're a Katatonia fan, I don't think you'll be too disappointed. And I still think it's a fairly strong record, and it does get better with every listen.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's probably, if I'm being totally fair, it's probably a really good record.
Yeah.
I think what I've just realized though, listening to this and also the last one, this band might just not be for me anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think I still want to check out the new stuff as it comes out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I noticed that distinct shift when it came to the Fall of Hearts was, I don't know if you're how familiar you were with Night is the New Day, but the way that album starts off, because you were talking about like heavy riffs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The first track, Forsaker, so it has like that real kind of like stabbing like rhythm thing, and then it goes into the it does like this really cool heavy riff, but then it just like just like completely gives way just for his vocals in a really light kind of clean guitar passage.
See, I feel like this album does that a lot. I mean,
I think it's
I do love when just everything drops and it's either just keyboards or you get keyboard and bass.
Yeah, but it's just to me it's a levels thing. It's just the way it doesn't do it in the same way. To me, there was a distinct shift when it came to the Fall of Hearts where remember you were mentioning that there's thing about this band. I think we would both agree that Jonas is kind of the feature.
Yeah.
So when he's the most prominent and when it seems to kind of feature his voice the most is, I think, what's really the most attractive thing. To me, what shifted with the last 3 records was that the band got bigger. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that he necessarily did. It's just, it sort of levels things out to where most bands are actually.
Yeah.
And
I think that's fair.
To me, that doesn't, just for me personally, that just doesn't work as well, or I don't enjoy it as well. And so that's why, like I said, it just may not be for me anymore. This is the stylistic choices they're choosing to make, and hey, more power to them. I know there was some talk a couple of years of them maybe not kind of throwing in the towel, and or at least there was a long.
Oh yeah, that was probably before these last 2 records.
It was,
and then all of a sudden, released 2 with not that far apart from each other.
Yeah, so I'm super happy for them, and it's been a long time as far as I can remember since they've come to the States. Pretty sure I'd go see them if they come to town. Yeah. So that's about all I have on this record, bro. You have anything else?
No, I think that's it. I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed the record. I understand where you're coming from. I do feel like the previous 2 records, his voice, the albums really showcased his voice, and this one not as much. Guys feel like the vocals weren't as prominent in the mix, and that bothered me a little bit. But it's weird because it seems like he wrote every song, so I would think he would.
Yeah,
he's kind of
it did.
That's
what I mean. It's not that this, to me, this record doesn't showcase his vocal talent, because it certainly does. I think it's just a thing where the band instrumentation has sort of elevated over these past few records, and then to me it just doesn't have that same magic. That's really all I'm saying.
I understand that.
So I think, just for me in closing, would just, as a recommendation, if you really enjoyed the last 3 records, or I'm sorry, rather the last 2 records of Fall of Hearts and City Burials, then 100% definitely pick up Sky Void of Stars. I think it's absolutely going to be something you'd enjoy.
Yep. I'd agree. Yeah, I mean, I also want to add, I mean, the production is top notch. The mix is almost perfect. I wish the vocals were a little more in the forefront, but I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it's not like his voice is buried. And if, like you said, when you listen with headphones, makes a world of difference for whatever reason, or maybe the physical copy is much better. I don't know who mixed this one. I'm guessing it was Jacob Hansen again. I mean, the music sounds killer, and I don't know if I think we kind of discussed this. I mean, I don't know if I've liked the music of a Katatonia album more. I almost would like a lot of bands do this, and I usually hate it, but like a bonus disc with just the instrumentals. That's how much I enjoy just the music. Okay. So, I mean, maybe there's not enough, as many hooks as I would like. But there's enough. I mean, I like the first 3 singles they released. They're fairly catchy for Katatonia. My favorite song is Colossal Shade for sure. And then, like I mentioned, No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall is a great song. And yeah, I guess that's I mean, it's still a very, very good record. This is kind of an album that kind of crept up on us. It was almost like a surprise. Like, oh man, another Katatonia record. Feels like it came really fast. So maybe that was kind of part of it. We just weren't quite in that headspace or ready for a Katatonia record. So maybe 6 months from now we check it out and we like it a lot more. But anyway, I'm not don't have too many criticisms. I still think it's a very good album. That's all I gotta say.
Right on. All right, we'll wrap this one up. Thanks everyone for checking out this video, and stay tuned for more. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Take care.